Hello, welcome to Life in the Suburbs with Sharon. I am Sharon Loudenbach. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a real estate agent, and I'm a resident in White Marsh Township here in Montgomery County. I brought this podcast to our listeners because I've lived in Montgomery County in the Philadelphia suburbs my entire life. And I've been selling real estate specifically, mostly in the Philly suburbs for 10 years now. And I've met such amazing people along the way, especially people and their businesses along the way, that I decided that it's something to talk about online. So here we are at Life in the Suburbs with Sharon. Today, I'm going to drop in a tidbit of realtor wisdom. I have been talking about lighting in your home, getting your home ready for sale. And also, I was talking this week about window treatments and window coverings in your home, because when you're selling your house and you're showing your house, one of the very important features of a home is the natural light. So let's think about those things when you're thinking about prepping your house, or even before you're thinking about moving. Let's enjoy your home and the natural light in your home and sort of break open the windows. The thing that I usually recommend to my clients when they're getting ready for sale is to go out and buy those 2-inch faux wood blinds or real wood blinds. You can slant them different directions. You can still let the outside in, you can see, and then if it's really bright, you can tilt it or open it. So that's just my thought, is to look at your windows, let your light in, enjoy it. It's one of the beauties of nature. So moving on to our guest today. Hello, Ashley Novak. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sharon?
I'm good, thank you. So Ashley Novak is the owner of Glam on Demand. It's an on-site makeup and hairstyling service serving the greater Philadelphia area. Ashley lives in West Norton. We met at a local White Marsh Township ladies happy hour. I tend to meet a lot of people at happy hours. And we continue to connect regularly at business networking events. So welcome.
Hi. I'm excited to
Hi.
be here.
Yeah, we've done some fun things together, Ashley and I,
For
but
sure.
especially Barbie. I don't know if you guys all saw me, but we went to see Barbie together, which was really a great show. Anyway,
Definitely.
we have a lot to cover. So I sort of want to start out, as I always do, with asking my guests to tell us your background story. Tell us about how you got started in the beauty business. Uh, and then I have a follow-up question to that. Just get started with how you got started in your beauty business.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in the beauty industry. I started with like going to beauty school. I thought I wanted to do, cutting hair, coloring hair, and I wanted to do nails when I initially went. But when I got there, it was definitely different than I expected, and I hated cutting, coloring, and nails. So it kind of threw me for a loop. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in my small town, because I lived in a small town, South Central PA, we didn't have a lot of like makeup artists or anything like that. And a photographer friend of mine had like a senior session that she was doing. And she's like, hey, can you come do hair and makeup for this senior session? I was like, why not? So I go do it. And at that time, Facebook had just started like launching out there. I'm not going to date myself here, but ultimately she posted the images and everybody's like, oh my gosh, where'd you find a makeup artist? And, it wasn't as big as it is today.
Yeah.
So she started giving out my information. People started messaging me asking what my rates were. And I had no idea what to say because, this was new to me. Didn't know what I was
Business
going to be
problem
doing.
101, entrepreneur problem
Yeah.
101. Mhm.
So, that's how I really got started. And then I also did some freelance for different brands inside of different retailers and started to learn, the corporate side of the beauty business as well. So I just kind of married both of them together.
And talk to me about, because it's been longer than I even thought, you started your own business, Glam on Demand, still the same name, I
Yes.
believe,
Yes.
really quickly, like a couple years into you being like into your adult world, like into the business.
For sure. So I've owned the business since 2010, so for 14 years now. And yes, the name was the same, so it was Glam on Demand from the start. And yeah, it's been a long time.
So, how did that happen so quickly? Like, how did you choose to go out on the limb? I mean, I know, just to tell our listeners really quick, you do have a day job also. You're with a company
Yes.
called Benefits, which is a fabulous company. But like, how did you decide to like branch off and become that, have that entrepreneurial drive?
Yeah, so my mom's always been an entrepreneur. She was an esthetician when I was young. She's always worked for herself. And she's worked in some retail stores too, but ultimately she was an entrepreneur. And the first thing she said to me when I said like, "Oh, I got to figure out my rates and all the things I was just telling
Yeah.
you guys," she's like, "Why don't you just start your own business?" I was like, okay, why not try it out? So that's what I did. And then I moved to the greater Philadelphia area so that I could build a better clientele and, start to get in the world. And, I started, like you said, with Benefit Cosmetics about 8 years ago as an account manager, and it really just marries the love of all of it.
So you just had a really good segue. So you moved to the greater Philly area. You live in West Norton. Your brick and mortar location is in Spring City.
That's
How
correct.
did you choose that location? You and I were, going through potentially moving. So I
Yes.
learned a little bit about how you do it. But why don't you tell our listeners, like, what were the, what's the word I'm looking for? What are the features or requirements that you were looking at when you chose Spring City? That's a big choice.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't really know where we wanted to be. We had never had a brick and mortar location because, I've been in business for 14 years and we've done all on site. But we decided that, hey, let's see what a studio space would do for us. Ultimately, we wanted to, um, figure out what we needed. We were working with a few photographers inside of our building. It's like an artist building, so it's a larger space, broken into different suites.
Oh, gotcha.
And so we were already working in the building with some photographers. So we decided, okay, we'll join the team, basically have some built-in business. We obviously needed parking for our clients, making
Right.
sure that it's not just street parking. Those things are really important to us as well. So. And you mentioned natural light.
Yeah.
Obviously, with makeup, we definitely need natural light as well.
Yeah. So just tell the listeners also, since you taught me so much about licensing and the
Yeah.
state, tell them like what the requirements were for the building.
So let's like rewind for a moment too. Makeup was never really in the forefront of state board, but with COVID and everything, they started to crack down on makeup artists. And so you actually technically in the state of Pennsylvania do need to have a brick and mortar space that you will run your books out of. The space must have certain things like running water and obviously certain items like your fire extinguisher, et cetera, your ADA compliance,
You
things
need,
like that. Say again.
say that again. Technically, you need a brick and mortar space to have a makeup artist business.
Yes. So it should be run on the books separately than the salon. But ultimately you do need one now in Pennsylvania.
Mm, okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't follow the rules, but we are now compliant.
And then so when did that happen? Like with the state, you said
I'm
during
not
COVID.
100% sure because I only really dealt with state board with my day job because we do waxing inside of our retailers. And so I've only really paid attention to the part that we needed to pay attention to inside of our retailers. But as I was doing some research on the different properties you and I were looking at, I
Yep.
realized, oh my gosh, we need to, update. So
Yeah. And I know you're sort of in the process of that in Spring City. So
we actually are fully licensed now.
okay.
So excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
So let's go on to the client experience. I believe this is where you set yourself apart. So I was doing some research on the website. When someone schedules their appointment, there's a full questionnaire for them to fill out. Talk to me about the purpose of that questionnaire.
For sure. So the initial questionnaire that they fill out is, the basics about their project, whether it be a wedding or a headshot or something like that. We need to know more information. Where do you need us? What time? All the things. Then once you are completely booked in our system, you will receive another questionnaire 2 weeks prior to your event. And it goes more in detail. It asks you to upload a selfie. It asks you to give us some inspiration pictures of what you're looking for. What do you like with your hair? What do you not like with your makeup? Things like that, so that we get a more idea of like how you may do your hair and makeup on a regular basis. We actually ask for your social media so we can do a little social media stalking,
I
see
love
how you
that.
typically
You said
wear
that to me.
it.
Like, I love the social media stalking. That's right up my
Yeah.
alley.
It's a necessity because if you typically never wear red lipstick, if I don't see one picture of you in a red lipstick and you tell me that day that you want a red lipstick, I might caution you against it because I think it's going to look way different than your norm and it's going to, not be a good experience. So I always try to steer my clients into what I think might suit them best. So,
So a great example of this is my wedding, which I'm not showing the picture. Maybe I will somewhere someday. But so back in the day, I've been married almost 29 years. Back in the day, we didn't have, because you were asking me, you're like, oh, didn't you do a preview or a test? And I was like, no, it was the first time I ever had makeup done professionally on my face in my life. I was 25. Like we didn't do this all the time. So the makeup artist came and I'm sure she was fabulous. That wasn't the issue. It's just she put a Carl lipstick on me. And it just I always wore neutrals, but I also can wear red, but I've never worn Carl. So I
yeah,
think I told you when we were chatting on the phone, I was like, I felt like a China doll. Like I looked beautiful, but I didn't feel like me inside my
yourself.
body. Like I didn't feel like the right person. So um I think what you do is brilliant because not I know for sure not every makeup artist does that.
For sure. We have a little tagline on our website too that, whether you want just a bit glam or too glam to give a damn, we have the glam for you. And like that's really what I stick by is really figuring out what's your glam style. Do you want natural? Do you want no makeup? Do you want,
Yeah.
again, too glam to give a damn?
So how many people come in and say, I don't want to be myself. I just want to do almost like a boudoir, almost like I would step out of my body. I know you've done boudoir, but like
For
step
sure.
out of my body and I want to be something different. Or I'm going to ask you that, and then I'm going to ask you, give me one fabulous, crazy story.
Oh, okay. So the first thing, not very many people want to step too far out of their comfort
Mm.
zone. Most of the
Okay.
time, it's like sticking to their usual, especially because it's, like you said, unless it's like a boudoir, they might let us try a little bit more dramatic or
Yeah.
something on the eyes so that, they're standing out a little more. My favorite thing to do is to talk people into lashes, especially people that have never tried a strip lash. Um, and
That's my favorite thing about makeup
yes,
is lashes. And I own a
yes.
couple pair and I still don't know how to put them on myself.
Well, we do classes as well. So
Maybe I
ultimately,
should.
we can do a class.
Oh God, I should definitely do that because I love
Um,
lashes.
and then your second question was about crazy stories. I think that I don't have a very many crazy stories. My biggest thing is like I truly believe that you attract your clientele. And
Mhm.
so we don't get a lot of like questionable people or situations, but I will say when it's extenuating circumstances like at a venue or maybe like there's one that's coming to mind in which like a lot of the time makeup artists have a bad rap about we make everything run late at weddings and that's not always the case. What's happening is like people are pulling people out of our chair. They're trying to get things ready for other vendors and we're like, "Hey, like this is our time, right?" And so I think that that would be the crazy things for me is like when a photographer is trying to pull somebody out of a chair that we're trying to finish their makeup and now we're going to make everything run late and we don't want to be the one that are making people run late. Like that is one thing I'm firmly against. So I think those are the crazy things that I would say happen the most.
And even saying running late, the funny thing is when I hear about the time that you start your brides
Mhm.
and the party in the morning, and I've heard it from the bridal side too, it's like you're meeting the makeup artist at 7:30 in the morning and your wedding's at 2 or whatever the timing is. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would be exhausted. Like I remember being
Yeah.
a bride. Like that's a crazy day.
It's a crazy day. Yeah, for
Crazy
sure.
day. So tell me what trends, because I heard you hear all over all these trends, all these things.
Mhm.
What do you see emerging in the beauty industry and how do you plan to incorporate them into your salon or your business model?
Yeah, for sure. Most of it's, industry changes every year, looks change every year. We are currently doing training. This is our like kind of off season where like weddings
Okay.
aren't like fully in swing yet. And so we do a lot of like training during this time. And so we're doing two hair classes soon for the styles that have been the most asked for. One of them being like the Hollywood glam waves. That is a
Mhm.
really big one this year
Mhm.
and the high ponies. The high ponies are super, super popular this year. So we have two classes coming up on those two styles so that we can start offering some more hairstyling. And then ultimately the makeup stuff would be like just glowing skin, more of that natural look skin, kind of what I have going on today is really what everybody's asking for. So really just, you would think that for makeup artists, they could do whatever look you throw at them. That's not always the case. It's
Yeah.
harder to actually do a more natural look than it is to do a more dramatic look. So this look can tend to be harder for some newer artists.
Oh, that's interesting. So do you do like microblading? Like what other services besides hair and makeup are you doing in your salon space?
Yeah, for sure. So we don't do microblading. We don't do any tattooing. We do lash lifts, which are perms for your eyelashes, and we tint them. And then we also do facials. We just started the trainings on these, and they should be fully launching probably by May. We should be fully up and running. Going back to your point of difference, so what makes us completely like different than most makeup artists is we're going to have packages for facials because it's important to get your skin in shape for your big day. And, we need a good 6 months prior. So we're going to start putting some packages together for some facials that go along with that makeup.
That's super smart.
Yeah.
That makes great sense. And young people, in fact, I heard like around the holidays this year that it was for young people specifically, one of the top requests for gifts was for skincare products.
Yeah.
I didn't start treating my skin till I was 40.
I know.
Big
And what
mistake.
people don't realize is what's happening now is what you see in 10 years. So the earlier you start, the earlier the better. So
My mom, thank God,
can't go back in time.
my mom doesn't watch these podcasts because I will definitely blame her on that. I'm like, my mom never taught me to care for my skin. She said, use Dove and you're done. And like, and then I have a 23-year-old daughter who is like a regular at Ulta and Sephora. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
unbelievable. Much, much
Completely
smarter
changed.
at a young age. Do you have additional future plans for growth in your salon? I know you were talking about these couple things, but is it potential to even add more services as you continue being successful?
Maybe down the line, definitely don't have anything in mind just yet, but we do want to get a bigger space. The current space that we have, we're going to outgrow it, I'm sure, pretty quickly. So
That's my job
will need a
then.
bigger space. Yes, exactly. We'll stay in
Yeah.
close contact for that. And so, yeah, I think down the line, that's the biggest thing that we need to do is the expansion piece and being able to bring more people onto the team and have a
Yeah.
bigger space to do all of our specialties in.
And so if we go back, so when did you open Spring City?
We opened Spring City 3 years ago.
So let's say last year, 2023, it was a good full year of
Mhm.
business. How much of your business was on site versus in the studio?
I would say 75% of it is on site
Okay.
and about 25% of it's in studio. Because it was all like makeup and hairstyling. I think with these added services, like we're gonna need people to be obviously in our space versus
Yeah.
on site. So I think it's gonna bring a lot more people into the space. But for makeup, it's really just our trials. We do our trials in our controlled environment. And then also like anybody that may not want to pay the extra little fee to come to your house. But yeah, ultimately we do both. Mhm.
And do you do it just for a single person? Like when I have a party to go to, you'll come to my house?
For sure. Yep,
Okay,
we
cool.
will.
I try to go to a gala, holiday gala every Christmas. So
Ooh,
that
a
would be my
reason to
next
get
one.
dressed up.
I mean, yeah, I go big.
Heck yeah,
Um, so let's tell people where they can find you because I know
for
you're
sure.
all over. You have a laundry list of ways for people to contact you and to follow you. So go ahead.
Most definitely. So let's start with the website. So glamondemand.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us. And we're hello@glamondemand.com for our email. You can find us on social media at Glam on Demand. On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. And then, my personal Instagram, feel free. It's Ashley Novak Makeup Artist. You can find me there as well. Now that's my personal, y'all.
And Spring City, tell them the location.
It is 20 East Bridge Street, Suite 307 in Spring City, PA 19475. And yeah, we're buy appointment only, so you don't want to just pop in on us, but
Okay.
definitely reach out via the website.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So now this is the time in the podcast that all my guests get to ask me a question. So it's time for the
Ooh,
table. You get to ask me whatever you want.
Yes. So thinking about real estate, and I know you do a lot of residential, and I know like when we were looking at commercial, do you think commercial will be in your future?
Oh, shoot. It's really funny. So a little backstory about that is I was in a family business for 23 years. I worked super close with my dad. Through some of that, we had 7 brick and mortar stores. So I was involved in some commercial real estate, but really at a full arm's length distance. Long story short, when the business was closing and I knew I was going to go into real estate, my dad said, "Oh, great, you're going to do commercial real estate." And I was like, "Oh no, 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 no." Like when I think of commercial, I think big buildings and these huge projects that could take a couple years to put together. Like my husband runs a law firm, like it takes them years to get those projects going. And I have no interest in doing that line of work. In terms of like you had asked me to help you out in terms of that level of commercial space. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to learn. And I've got to be honest with you. You taught me so much through that short process that we were looking together that it was really cool. It was really fun. I loved learning, digging deeper into the needs, especially of a business like that, because I ran a business semi-similar to it. And I remember, UNOs and White L&I and blah, 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 blah. So it was really fun. I don't plan on doing large commercial real estate, but I'm certainly happy to help out on the smaller commercial side. And I'm just going to drop a little. I also do help people with rentals, with residential rentals. It was
Mhm.
a part of the business that when you first start in real estate and you literally have no book of business, you're like, I'll take anything. And in the beginning, I did it, and then my business got so solid that I really didn't do rentals for a while. And then last year, when things started to slow down, ironically, two residential rentals came my way. And I really was happy to help them and their local families. And one was for a church that, the local church down the road. So I am happy to help people out with rentals too.
That's awesome. That's good to know too, because with the way that the housing market can be, like people are looking for rentals right now. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, one of my rentals is probably going to turn into her buying a house. I mean, it was a woman and starting a divorce and she needed a house for the kids in in the school district. And now she has gotten herself together further along in the divorce process. And now, in a couple of months, she's going to be looking to buy. So
Yeah.
I'm a relationship builder. That's what my business is all built on relationships.
Same.
I looked yesterday, I was talking to somebody and one client from one referral who was referred to me by an old salesperson in my old business. From one referral, I got 5 pieces of business within that family.
That's amazing.
Crazy. So I do love that it's all about relationship building for me.
For
So thank
sure.
you for that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up today. To find Life in the Suburbs with Sharon, you can find me on YouTube. Everything is there. I'm also really new on Spotify, so you can listen to
Yay.
me while you're driving. So I'm also getting the episodes on Spotify. If anybody knows how to get me on Apple Podcast, I'm struggling with that right now. So that's my next project. You can also find me on all socials under Sharon Loudenbach. And thank you for checking in. Please come back. See you next time. Thank you, Ashley.
Of course. Have a good day.
You too.